Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says sorry for the vaccine shortage in Visayas and Mindanao. Also, senators urge the IATF to be more flexible on the mandatory quarantine for inbound and fully vaccinated travelers. And later, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte dismisses a tandem with her father in 2022 as President Duterte now calls a possible vice presidential bid a good idea. Interagency Task Force co-chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Karlo Nograles joins us live. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 assures residents in Visayas and Mindanao they will get more COVID-19 vaccines following concerns by some lawmakers on the vaccine distribution. Also, is Cebu province defying the IATF on their swab upon arrival policy for returning Filipinos and a proposal to review and scrap the mandatory face shield policy? Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Interagency Task Force co-chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Karlo Nograles. Secretary Nograles, welcome to the source, sir, and maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thanks for having me, Pinky. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga nakikinig at nanonood ngayon. Good morning.
Pag-usapan na po natin, Secretary, yung una, yung recalibration. Dahil sa inyo ko po narinig na ipinag-utos nga ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte yung recalibration after some lawmakers aired their concern about, sabi nga ni Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, neglect sa Cagayan de Oro City. So my question is, papaano ho ba itong recalibration? Meron na ho bang formula for this?
Yes, they're currently finalizing the formula kung paano, no? But basically, ihalin tulad na lang po natin sa sunog, no? Gaya ng sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte, kung saan yung fire, that's where you concentrate all of the water on, no? And so the same will happen here sa vaccine. So kung saan yung mga matataas ang bilang ng COVID-19 cases, that's where we will be recalibrating and refocusing yung vaccine deployment while not forgetting the other areas as well. So in other words, siguro if we can imagine, population ang pag-uusapan, ideally what you want to do is 25% for Mindanao, 25% for Visayas, and rest for Luzon. Because as far as population disbursement is dispersal is concerned, no, kung gaano sana ang population, dun mo i-focus yung vaccines. But because meron mga areas na mas mataas ang attack rate ng COVID-19, then there should be a recalibration towards that end. Tulad nung ginawa natin sa NCR plus 8. So sa NCR plus 8, initially, we were concentrating the vaccines here while not forgetting yung vaccines for the deployment for the other regions, no? But because mataas yung COVID-19 cases sa NCR plus 8, doon nag-concentrate. But right now, what we're seeing is increases in areas outside of NCR plus 8. So halos the formula that we applied for NCR plus 8 will now be applied for these areas, especially those na under MECQ, because the MECQ areas are inevitably those with the highest number of attack rate, no? Yung highest attack rate pagdating sa COVID-19.
Can we be clear about this, Secretary? So yung sinasabi natin na 50% Luzon, 25% Visayas, 25% Mindanao, that formula will not be adopted sa pagdating ng mga bagong bakuna because in June, for example, government is expecting rather 4 million more vaccines. So immediately ho ba magpapalit na yung proportion na yon?
Kaya ganito na lang, para di tayo malito, no? Ideally, each municipality, no, sabihin natin, each municipality should get about 100 to 200, no? 100 to 200 vaccine from the central office, no, once we deploy. So that's the standard, kumbaga. But because we are expecting more vaccines to come, especially ngayong June, we expect 11 million doses by the end of the month, 11 million total additional just for the month of June. So while not losing the 100 to 200 doses dun sa per municipality, then yung additional dose will be the one we recalibrate dun sa areas where attack rate is highest.
Okay, so tuloy pa rin yung 100 to 200 vaccine distribution for every municipality. Madadagdagan lang, especially, I guess what I'm understanding from you is doon sa nasa MECQ na mga lugar.
Yes, because the 100 to 200 per municipality rate was based on the number of vaccines we got, sabihin natin, for the previous months, which was not 7 million. No? Mas konti yung vaccines natin in previous months. So we can do that. No? So with the new additional dagdag na vaccines coming in over and above what we were used to getting in previous months, then that's what we will recalibrate.
Mm-hmm. So give me an example, sir. I understand that the expectation is 4 million vaccines to arrive by the end of June. Considering that this will happen, do you know how this will be distributed?
Yeah, so it depends. So sabihin natin sa MECQ, sabihin natin you have Sago City, Cagayan Valley, Apayao, Ifugao, Bataan, Lucena City, Naga, Iloilo City, Iloilo Province, Negros Oriental, Zamboanga City, Zamboanga Sibugay, Zamboanga Sur, Zamboanga Norte, Cagayan de Oro City, Davao City, Butuan City, Agusan Sur, Dinagat Islands, Surigao Sur. Now, iba-iba ang population yan. Right? So
Correct.
based on the population size as well, then that's how you will formulate how many vaccines, depende on how many additional vaccines we get. And we're getting. So for instance, June 17, may darating na Sinovac. Next month, may darating na naman na Sinovac. And we're waiting for the COVAX pa na darating. So all of these additional vaccines will be deployed to areas na mataas ang bilang, depende on the population size nila.
Okay.
No? So that's how you formulate. Diba? Depende sa population size.
Apo. And depende sa population size doon sa mga lugar, especially ngayon na nasa MECQ. So I'm sure, Secretary, you heard the concerns of Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. In fact, it was 2 days ago that Northern Mindanao received over 50,000 doses. Sabi niya, after naglabas siya ng sama ng loob, doon daw nagkaroon ng action. Sabi niya, reactionary ang naging tugon ng IATF sa kanyang hiling because he had written Secretary Galvez twice, he says, and he also says hindi daw siya napansin. To this, he says, nagkaroon ng neglect and he holds officials accountable. In fact, in yesterday's interview, he said that includes Secretary Galvez, Secretary Duque, and even you, Secretary Nograles.
Yes, he wrote us in our capacity, me as co-chair ng IATF, si Sec Duque as chair ng IATF, and si Secretary Galvez as vaccine czar and NTA chair. So we answered the letters that he sent us, but we have to also understand that during those times that he was writing us, we were responding to the letters, and as much as we could in terms of our vaccine supply, we were responding positively in terms of providing as much supply as we can to his district, to his city, and to his province, no, and even to his region. But that being said, supply was and still continues to really be a challenge, not just for the Philippines but the whole world, no, except for those nations who have vaccine manufacturers based there. No? So, kumbaga ang nangyari is siyempre inuna ng iba ang kanilang sarili. At tayo na hindi naman tayo nagmamanufacture ng ating sariling vaccines, we are dependent on what sort of supply they would give us. That being said, lahat ng contract lahat ng supply agreements na kailangan natin gawin, ginawa naman po ng pamahalaan, ginawa naman din po ni Secretary Charlie. Except that, obviously, there were some indicative timelines that were not followed. Some vaccine supplies that were supposed to come did not come, was delayed for weeks, for months. And so it's really the challenge. No? But if you look naman at our efforts in terms of how many vaccines we've deployed, as equitably as we can, based on formula, we've given Northern Mindanao and the island of Mindanao, no, kung ilan ang vaccines na nararapat para sa kanila based on the sharing pattern that we've formulated. So as equitably as we can, we've done that. But that being said, we expect more vaccines to come, and we are responding to the call not just of Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, I'm sorry, but other people as well. Iloilo is writing us also asking for more vaccines. Bicol is writing us for more vaccines. So, yun, ganun yung situation really on the ground. Kung meron lang tayo all the vaccines that we could get our hands on, we've tried doing that. But the reality is we're really dependent on what they will supply us and what they will sell us.
So, as a last question on this, ano po ang tugon ninyo dun sa sinasabing hindi sila napansin o na-neglect sila?
No, there was really no neglect. In fact, I think it was already mentioned in the hearings or even in media, no, in public statements. 420,000 doses were delivered to Northern Mindanao alone. Iba-ibang vaccine brands yan, no? Then recently, 35,000 Pfizer doses recently delivered to Cagayan de Oro. Another 21,000 Sinovac doses were sent to the city. So as much as we could get, we just deploy to we don't vaccines. we deploy. As soon as we receive, deploy. That's really been what we've been doing, no? We ask for patience and understanding, not just of Cagayan de Oro, not just of people from Mindanao, but everywhere in the Philippines. No, it's really a challenge that we have to face. Kaya we just have to, kailangan mag-ingat po tayong lahat. And even when the vaccines come, even if double dose na kayo,
even if we're vaccinated,
even if you're vaccinated, you still have to just continue doing the minimum public health standards. You just have to keep doing the face mask, face shield, social distancing, hugas kamay, everything to protect yourself and your families.
Right. Secretary Nograles, we need to take a very short break. The source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, IATF co-chair and Cabinet Secretary Karlo Nograles. So we were talking about minimum health protocols, whether you are vaccinated, even if you're vaccinated twice, you got the full dose, kailangan sundin pa rin natin yung minimum health protocols. There was a tweet last night. I'm not sure if you saw this, sir, coming from Senate President Tito Soto. Ang sabi po niya ay the President agreed that face shields will only be used in hospitals only. Do you know anything about this, Secretary Nograles? Ibig ho ba sabihin nito, pwede na tayong hindi gumamit ng face shield pag wala po tayo sa mga ospital?
Well, we'll run this through the IATF because we have an IATF meeting later, no? And I know some officials from government already spoke about this. Yung pagsuot ng face shield, na baka maaring hindi na magsuot ng face shield pag outdoors. But again, wala pa pong resolution or policy na pinalabas ang IATF. Perhaps this afternoon, after the IATF meeting, we will have more definite answer from the IATF, because we'll have to discuss this among members of the IATF, plus with our health experts, our medical experts.
Okay, so we still need to wear our face shields, okay? Just to be clear on that. waiting for this resolution from the IATF. And also jumping to Cebu, Sec Carlo, no, yung pong swab upon arrival policy for returning Filipinos. Papaano ho ba ito? Does this run contrary to what the government's policy is or the IATF policy is? Papaano ho ba to? Is there any way to reconcile this?
Yes, it's the ILG. The ILG will now reconcile this because the ILG will be the ones who, the ILG is the one responsible for enforcing, no, especially with the local government units, whatever policy comes out of the IATF, especially if it's a pronouncement from the president. That being said, we have to remember yung pinaka-concern po talaga natin dito, Pinky, are the variants. Most especially the new variant, no? Sabihin natin na, I forget kasi what their Greek alphabet name is.
Delta, yung Delta, sir.
India, the Delta variant. So coming from that portion in Central Asia, in India. So that's what we are most concerned about. We've seen it happen in other countries, particularly in India, when that variant became spread throughout the country. That it became the predominant variant. We saw how it translated into the numbers, no, and the surge and the hospital beds and the lack thereof. So ito po talaga yung binabantayan natin, which is why we're being very, very extra careful when it comes to international passengers coming from abroad. And so we have to have set standards, no, all across our international airports.
And because we're talking about that also, returning Filipinos and OFWs, of course, Secretary Karlo, you know that there have been concerns coming from senators to look into the period of quarantine for all those coming back to the country. Some are saying, dapat forgo na tong quarantine, mag-test upon arrival na lang. Yung iba naman sasabi, let's test upon arrival and then wait 2 to 3 days in a hotel dahil daw grabe din po yung ginagastos ng mga hindi nako-cover ng gobyerno dito. Will the IATF talk about this today? Because there is a meeting, possibly shorten the quarantine period or even exempt those who are fully vaccinated?
Well, bago pa man naging concern yan ng iba't ibang mga kababayan natin, no, and kasama yung mga senators, we've actually already created a small group to look into this, to study this, and to give their recommendations to the IATF. Wala po tayong problema when it comes to the science behind vaccination, no? Especially those fully vaccinated. In fact, kung naalala ninyo, yung mga fully vaccinated here in the Philippines, pag lumabas ng bansa at bumalik po, hindi na kailangan i-swab. But we just need to quarantine you for 7 days and observe. Kung may lalabas na symptoms, that's the only time we swab, no? Because we understand and appreciate the science behind fully vaccinated individuals. So ang issue po ngayon is bakit yung mga fully vaccinated from abroad and not from the Philippines, bakit iba ang rule? Simply because we just need to finalize and come up with the guidelines on how we will be able to, paano ba natin ma-verify yung authenticity and ano bang official documents ng full vaccination ang kinakailangan natin makita dito from fully vaccinated individuals abroad. Yun lang po yung issue. Yun lang po yung gusto natin ma-finalize. Whether galing ka sa Amerika or galing ka sa Europa or galing ka sa ibang bansa sa Middle East or sa Asia, ano ba ang certification,
basihan,
official document or official vaccination card na kailangan makita ng ating Bureau of Immigration or Bureau of Quarantine that gives us the proof and evidence necessary for us to say, okay, fully vaccinated ka nga. Wala pa tayo doon. Yun ang pinag-uusapan ng DFA and the small group that's working on this together with other countries. No?
So,
pag na-finalize po natin yan, then we can already issue the new guidelines for fully vaccinated individuals abroad.
Okay, I understand. In fact, you answered the question. So DFA and a small group will look into this. And I do understand what you're saying. Ano po pa talaga yung basehan para pagpasok mo dito, malaman na authentic itong dokumentong ipakikita, hindi ho ba? Sa airport, sa Bureau of Quarantine. However,
marami kasing pwedeng gumawa ng fake na vaccination card. Yeah.
Okay. So I understand that, Sec, no? Pero dahil nga pinag-uusapan to at binubusisi ngayon ng DFA and a small group, ano po. But if you allow them, if there is already basis to prove that this is authentic, yung kanila pong papakita, ganun pa rin ho ba ang kalalabasan? 7-day quarantine pa rin, no swab, if no symptoms, and 7-day quarantine pa rin sa hotel? Ganun pa rin ho ba like the fully vaccinated Filipinos here in the country?
Yeah. So the science behind fully vaccinated individuals is evolving. No, it's evolving day by day, week by week. Many experts chime in. Maraming mga eksperto ang nagbibigay ng kanilang expert opinion, including WHO. So tayo, we consult with WHO. We consult with the international experts and what other countries are doing. Tinitingnan din natin yan. Again, as I said, it's constantly evolving. And we also look at what other countries are doing in terms of how they treat fully vaccinated individuals. In fact, Pinky, may panawagan nga tayo, maraming bansa, may panawagan sa WHO to come up also with a universal vaccination card na digital na may QR code para hindi na tayo nagkakalituan. And yan ang panawagan natin sa WHO. It will make life so much easier for travelers, for people in different countries, traveling and getting the world economy moving again. At yan ang patuloy namin panawagan sa WHO.
Something that should have been Sec Carlo, dapat na realize na to before. Kasi even before, pinag-uusapan na, even in European countries, sino bang papayagan? Ano bang vaccine lang ang pwedeng payagan? Kasi ganun din yun. Ngayon, you have the listing from the WHO, which allows, anyway, that's a whole mahaba pa pong usapan yan. But I need to take a very short break again. The Source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, IATF co-chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Karlo Nograles. Secretary, let's talk politics because the president spoke and he said that running for vice president is a good idea, but basically saying resting is also a good idea. Ano ho kaya ang mas matimbang dito? Good idea, sabi niya meron pa siyang unfinished business, pero makailang ulit na rin sinabi ng Pangulo na pagod na rin siya.
So I suppose what is clearest to us is that he has not made up his mind yet. Sa PDP Laban, alam niyo naman, PDP Laban passed a resolution convincing the president to run for vice president. But as far as the party mates are concerned, as far as PDP Laban is concerned, wala pa pong advice or wala pa pong sagot or definite answer na binibigay si Pulong Duterte sa PDP Laban. And so we just wait and see. Abangan na lang po natin, as we can all appreciate, the president has his hands full with so many concerns, particularly sa COVID, particularly sa maraming problema na hinaharap ng ating bansa, ating mga kababayan, dala at dulot ng COVID-19 din. So we just wait. I think running for whatever position is really a personal choice, a personal decision, and you really have to think about it and reflect about it. And so I guess let's give the president a chance to really think about and reflect about it. And I'm sure when the time comes, he will a decision. And kami sa PDP Laban, we will stand behind him, and he will inform us also of his decision. pagdating
Yeah.
ng panahon.
Pero mukha na ho ba talagang malabo ang Duterte tandem?
Well, I guess my answer will still be based on my previous answer. It's a personal decision to make for any candidate, no? Whether it's for Mayor Sara or si President Duterte. These are, very personal decisions that you make. Of course, you will see and hear people and consult with people. You'll consult with your family. And ultimately, you will have people who will be telling you to run. You'll have people tell you perhaps not to run, or coming up with different kinds of combinations. So at the end of the day, it's really your decision to make. And
Yes.
I could sense, we could really sense that the president is really, really thinking about it, and he just, hasn't really
Right.
made up his mind yet.
But Sir Carlo, it seems clear with the pronouncement of the president. Will you agree? Kasi parang ang sinasabi po niya, kapag tumakbo bilang vice president si Congressman Romualdez, hindi na po siya tatakbo na vice president.
Actually, hindi ko ma-interpret. I don't. So,
Sinabi na po niya. Is there ito po tanong ko, is there room for interpretation on that?
I really don't know what was going on in the mind of the president. Of course, he knows that si Congressman Martin Valdez is an ally, and he was in the same room, and I don't think that's the first time he said it, diba? There was another occasion earlier on in Malacanang when I think he saw Congressman Majority Leader Martin Romualdez, and also mentioned na pwedeng tumakbo na Vice President si Kong Martin. So this is not the first time. It's not the first time he's said it.
Mm-hmm. Pero your bet, the president, the PDP Laban's bet, is already saying that if Congressman Romualdez runs as Vice President, hindi na po siya tatakbo. So, who's your second option? Who's your option after the president?
Sa PDP. Sa PDP Laban, of course, ang taas ng aming respeto at kumpiyansa at paniniwala kay Pangulong Duterte. Him being our national chairman, and him being the president, no, and him, having the foresight and the experience and the knowledge and the wherewithal, and so many things. So when it comes to PDP Laban, mataas ang kumpiyansa namin that the president will advise us, his party, of the best possible options for president and vice president.
Okay. All right. Cabinet Secretary and IATF co-chairperson Karlo Nograles. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you, Pinky. Always a pleasure. Ingat po lahat. God bless. Stay safe, everyone. Good morning.
Take care of yourself. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.